The alarm shattered the frozen silence at 500 hours. Marine Corps recruit. Depot Paris Island materialized from darkness like a fortress emerging from fog chain-link fences, stretching into nowhere. Sodium lights painting everything the color of old bruises, and somewhere in the distance the Atlantic Ocean breathing cold against the South Carolina coast. 60 recruits scrambled into formation on the parade deck, breath clouding in air that felt like broken glass against exposed skin. January had teeth here, the kind that bit through regulation physical training gear and found bone. Riley Carter stood in the third rank, 5'4" of compact silence. Her hands, small and pale in the artificial light, hung at her sides with unnatural stillness. While others shifted weight, scratched noses, adjusted covers, Riley simply existed a statue among fidgets. Drill instructor Matthews emerged from the shadows like a predator sensing weakness. 6 feet 2 inches of carved granite wrapped in woodland camouflage, smoky bear hat pulled low over eyes that had seen 3 combat deployments and tolerated exactly 0 excuses. His boots struck concrete with the rhythm of incoming artillery. Wrists, show me your wrists. The command detonated across the deck. 60 arms extended. 59 showed clean skin regulation. Watches maybe a medical alert bracelet approved by medical officer. Riley's left wrist told a different story. Matthews stopped. 3 seconds of silence that felt like 3 years. Then his entire body torqued toward her like a missile-acquiring target. What in the name of all that is holy do you think you're doing in my Marine Corps? His finger thick as a rifle barrel, aimed at the pink butterfly tattooed across her wrist. Delicate wings, soft colors, the kind of ink you got at a beach boardwalk after too many drinks and not enough sense. It looked fragile, feminine, completely inappropriate for a warrior institution built on blood and iron. A pink butterfly, a pink butterfly. Matthew's voice could have stripped paint. This is the United States Marines, not some nail salon, not some Instagram princess fantasy camp. Laughter erupted. Recruit Hansen, 5'9", former college volleyball captain, shoulders like a linebacker, whispered loud enough for 3 ranks to hear, "Mommy and Daddy's credit card. Princess got lost on the way to the beach." More laughter. Recruit Kim joined in, her voice carrying that special cruelty of someone who'd found a target lower on the food chain. "I give her 3 days before she's crying for a taxi home." Riley didn't flinch, didn't blink. Her face remained smooth as still water eyes fixed on the middle distance where drill instructors wanted them. Nothing behind those eyes but empty politeness. Matthews invaded her personal space hat brim, nearly touching her forehead, close enough that she could smell coffee and Copenhagen and 48 hours without sleep. "I asked you a question, recruit. Explain to me why you believe you deserve to stand on the same deck as real Marines." "No excuse, sir." Riley's voice came out flat, quiet, 3 words that gave away nothing. "No excuse is right. You know what I think? I think you're a tourist. I think you watched some recruiting commercial and thought you'd play dress-up for a few weeks before running home to your comfortable life." Matthews straightened, addressed the entire formation with the confidence of a man who'd been proven right 1,000 times. "This is your example of what does not belong here. Remember this face because in 72 hours it'll be gone." He spun on his heel boots, cracking against concrete like gunshots. "Recover. First call in 15 minutes. Carter, you're on my watch list. Screw up once and you're scraping barnacles off boat holes until your paperwork processes." The formation dissolved into controlled chaos bodies rushing toward squad bays, voices overlapping the machine of Bootcamp grinding forward. Riley moved with them, silent as a shadow. What none of them saw, the way her eyes had tracked Matthews's approach vector. The micro-adjustment of her stance that put her weight on the balls of her feet. The split-second assessment of exits, cover positions, potential weapons within reach. Combat reflexes don't sleep. They hibernate, waiting for the world to get dangerous again. And they never fully die. Week 1, ground forward, like a slow-motion car crash. Every day brought fresh humiliation, carefully calibrated, to break the weak and forge the strong. Day 2, Matthews assigned Riley an extra hour of physical training as punishment for unauthorized body modification. Never mind that the tattoo had been approved by medical during processing. Never mind regulations. This was about sending a message. Riley executed 200 push-ups in the sand pit, While the rest of the platoon watched from formation, her arms trembled by rep 90, gave out completely at rep 140. She lay there, face in the dirt, chest heaving. "Get up, butterfly princess." Matthews circled her like a shark. "Or are those pretty wings too delicate for real work?" She got up, finished the set, said nothing. Day 3 brought the chow hall, a cavernous space packed with 400 recruits, drill instructors prowling the aisles, the constant percussion of trays and silverware, and shouted commands. Riley sat alone at the end of a table meant for 8. Hanson's group occupied the opposite end, voices deliberately loud. "I heard she cried in the shower last night," Hanson announced to her audience. "Mascara running the whole performance." "Did someone check her locker for participation trophies?" Kim added. The table erupted in laughter. Riley ate her meal with mechanical precision. Fork, mouth, chew, swallow. Repeat. Eyes on her tray. But when she finished, when she folded her napkin before standing, her hands moved without conscious thought, creasing the fabric into a perfect military triangle, corners aligned to within a millimeter. She caught herself halfway through. Stopped. Unfolded it, messily balled it up, like someone who'd never seen a barracks inspection in her life. Recruit Jackson, sitting 2 tables over, saw it. His eyes narrowed slightly. Then he looked away, filing the observation somewhere quiet. Day 5, footlocker inspection. Matthews prowled the squad bay like a prison warden, white glove protocol in full effect. One misplaced item, one wrinkle, one speck of dust meant the entire locker's contents dumped on the deck push-ups until muscles screamed. He stopped at Riley's locker expecting the easy kill. Every item sat exactly 2 inches from its neighbor. Socks rolled to regulation diameter. Skivvies folded with hospital corners. Toiletries arranged by height labels facing forward like a photograph from the manual. Matthews checked the spacing with his fingers. Perfect. Checked the fold on the PT gear. Perfect. Lifted the cover on the extra boots looking for dust. Nothing. His jaw tightened. Acceptable. The word came out like he'd swallowed glass. He moved to the next locker, Recruit Foster's, and found an inside-out t-shirt. "Dump it!" While Foster scrambled to pick up scattered gear, Jackson watched Riley from his rack. She wasn't celebrating, wasn't even paying attention, just sitting on her footlocker staring at nothing, completely detached from the chaos around her. But her boots. Her boots sat positioned for instant donning, left slightly ahead of right laces, loosened to exactly the right tension, positioned at the precise angle for someone to slip feet in while still half asleep. The positioning of someone who'd practiced emergency response drills. The positioning of someone who'd needed to be armed and moving in under 30 seconds. Many times. The obstacle course arrived on day 6 like a promise of pain. Rope climbs, wall vaults, monkey bars, low crawl through mud under barbed wire. This was where the weak got exposed, where pretty words met ugly reality. Riley approached the rope climb, 30 feet of braided fiber, hanging from a metal frame that had broken fingers and egos for 40 years. She grabbed hold, started pulling, made it 8 feet before her grip failed, sliding back to earth with rope burn striping her palms. Again! Matthews materialized beside her. "Butterfly can't fly." She tried again, 10 feet this time, fell. Again, 12 feet, fell harder. Landing on her back, wind knocked out. 4 more times, Carter. And if you can't complete it by attempt 5, you're doing it 10 more times after everyone else finishes the course. Hanson jogged past, having completed her climb in 40 seconds flat. "Some people just aren't built for this," she said loud enough. Riley completed it on attempt 4, barely. Arms shaking so violently, she could hardly release the rope at the top. When she descended, Matthews was already walking away, disappointed to lose his afternoon entertainment. But Jackson saw something Matthews didn't. Riley's technique was wrong, inefficient. She was using her arms instead of her legs, fighting the rope instead of working with it. Like someone who knew how to climb perfectly, but was deliberately doing it wrong. Like someone hiding what she could really do. Night fell on Paris Island with the subtlety of a prison gate closing. Squad bay lights cut to red at 2100 hours. 60 recruits and 60 racks, exhausted bodies, finding whatever rest the Marine Corps allowed. Riley's rack sat near the door. Poor placement for sleep, optimal for situational awareness. She lay on her back, eyes open, facing the exit. Her boots sat precisely positioned on the floor. Not regulation, not random, tactical. Jackson's rack was 3 down. He couldn't sleep either, too much adrenaline, too much pain, too much everything. In the red darkness, he watched Riley's silhouette. She didn't move, didn't shift, just lay there with the stillness of someone on watch. At 0230 hours, she sat up, swung her legs out of the rack with zero noise, feet into boots without fumbling, stood and walked toward the head, the bathroom moving through darkness like she had night vision. Jackson counted her steps. 11. She'd memorized the exact distance, knew where every rack sat, every obstacle, every potential noise hazard. He'd been Army Reserve before deciding to go active duty Marines. He'd seen guys come back from Afghanistan. They moved like Riley moved, like the dark-held threats that required constant management. He closed his eyes and pretended to sleep when she walked back. But his mind kept working on the puzzle. Who the hell are you, Carter? Week 2 introduced live weapons. The rifle range sprawled across 200 acres of South Carolina, sand and pine berms, rising like artificial hills, target silhouettes standing at distances that turned expert marksmen humble. Sergeant Torres ran the range with the precision of a master watchmaker. 29 years old, reconnaissance Marine veteran of Fallujah and Sangin, he'd seen combat that made Bootcamp look like summer camp. He tolerated mistakes from genuine ignorance. Lies made him dangerous. The M4 carbine sat on the table in pieces: upper receiver, lower receiver, bolt carrier group, charging handle, 30-round magazine. Torres demonstrated assembly with the bored efficiency of someone who'd done this 10,000 times. This weapon will keep you alive if you respect it, kill you if you don't. Every Marine is a rifleman first. I don't care if you're a cook, a clerk, or a combat engineer. If you can't shoot, you're worthless to the Marine Corps. He called for a volunteer to reassemble the weapon. Hands shot up. Hanson's among them, eager to prove dominance in another arena. But Riley's hand had started to rise before she caught herself. The muscle memory had been faster than her conscious mind. She pulled it back down, but not before Torres's eyes locked onto the movement. "Carter, you have something to contribute?" "No, Sergeant." "Then why did your hand move?" "Nervous reflex, Sergeant." His eyes narrowed. "Step forward." Riley approached the table. Torres scattered the weapon parts deliberately. "You've got 90 seconds. Show me this nervous reflex." She stared at the components. Her fingers twitched. Then slowly, clumsily, she began assembling the rifle. She picked up the bolt carrier group backward, fumbled the charging handle, took 2 minutes to complete what should take 30 seconds. Torres watched every second. When she finished rifle assembled but obviously struggling, he cleared it, checked headspace, verified function. Everything worked, but her technique had been amateur hour. Adequate, he said the word, carrying suspicion. Return to formation. As Riley walked back, Torres caught the way her fingers had gripped the receiver. The calluses on her hands weren't from gym equipment. They were from rifle stocks and pistol grips, the kind you developed from thousands of hours of weapons handling. He made a mental note. Second time today, Carter had shown inconsistent skill levels. Before we continue with Riley's story and reveal what happens next at the rifle range, I need to ask you something important. This story is about more than just one woman proving herself. It's about the thousands of silent warriors who walk among us every day carrying secrets and scars we'll never see. If you believe that true strength doesn't need to advertise itself, if you think people deserve a chance to prove who they really are before we judge them, then hit that subscribe button right now. Because what happens in the next 10 minutes will challenge everything you think you know about weakness and power. Trust me, you don't want to miss where this goes. Week 3 brought written examinations. Marine Corps history, rank structure, general orders, first aid procedures, basic tactics. The kind of academic work that separated those who studied from those who partied through high school. Riley sat in the classroom, a cinder block rectangle with fluorescent lights and government-issue furniture, filling out her exam with quiet focus. Around her, recruits chewed pencils, scratched heads, muttered prayers to whatever gods governed multiple-choice tests. She finished in 20 minutes, double-checked her work, raised her hand. The proctor, a lance corporal with the enthusiasm of someone pulling duty on a Saturday, collected her exam, glanced at it, did a double take, flipped through the pages more carefully. Every answer correct, not just correct, elaborated. The question asked for 3 general orders. Riley had listed all 11. asked for basic first aid. She'd outlined triage protocol used in forward operating bases, asked about fire team formation. She'd diagrammed squad-level tactical movement with supporting arms coordination. The Lance Corporal brought it to Captain Brooks. Brooks read it twice, then pulled Riley's file. Riley Carter, 22 years old, birthplace classified as Midwest in her application. High school diploma, 2 years of college before dropping out, University of Wisconsin undeclared major 2.8 GPA. No military family, no JROTC, no shooting sports background. 1 parking ticket, otherwise clean as fresh snow. The file fit the profile of 1,000 other recruits, lost kids looking for direction structure, a way to pay for college. Nothing special. But this exam read like it had been written by someone with field experience. Brooks made a note in her file, inconsistent performance levels warrant observation. The Chow Hall incident came on day 17. Dinner service 400 recruits packed into organized chaos drill instructors, prowling between tables like prison guards watching for contraband. Riley sat with Jackson. Now he'd claimed the seat across from her 3 days ago, and she hadn't objected. They ate in silence mostly. Jackson respected quiet. Hanson's group occupied a table 10 feet away. Loud, confident. The natural alphas of the platoon, already forming the social hierarchy that would carry through the next 12 weeks. Hanson stood to bus. Her tray walked past Riley's table. Her elbow accidentally, she'd claim, later struck Riley's canteen. Orange Gatorade arced through the air in slow motion, splashed across Riley's uniform. Blouse turned the tan fabric into a Jackson Pollock painting. The Chow Hall didn't go silent. That would have been too dramatic. But the volume dropped. Heads turned. This was content live entertainment in a world of controlled monotony. "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." Hanson's voice dripped with the kind of fake concern that made the mockery worse. "I'm such a klutz." Kim, sitting at Hanson's table, didn't even try to hide her smile. At least orange is better than pink, matches her aesthetic. Riley looked down at her ruined uniform, then up at Hanson. No anger in her eyes, no embarrassment. Just a flat, empty acknowledgement that something had happened and she'd noted it. She stood, grabbed napkins, began wiping the liquid away with calm, methodical efficiency. Like she'd been trained to manage unexpected situations without emotional reaction. "It's fine," Riley said. 2 words, delivered in the same tone someone might use to comment on the weather. "You're not even mad." Hanson seemed genuinely confused. She'd wanted a reaction. Tears, anger, something she could leverage into further humiliation. Accidents happen. Riley finished cleaning, gathered her tray. "Thank you for apologizing." She walked away. Bussed her tray, exited the Chow Hall at exactly the right pace, not fleeing, not stomping, just moving from point A to point B. Jackson watched the whole thing. What struck him wasn't Riley's calm. It was the perfection of it. Real people got angry when publicly humiliated. They flushed their hands, shook their voices, went tight. Riley had shown zero physiological stress response, like someone who'd been trained to control emotional reactions under pressure, like someone who'd needed that skill to stay alive. Night 20 brought fire guard duty 2-hour shifts, watching the squad bay, making sure nobody died, in a fire, passed out, or did anything stupid enough to make the news. Usually a rotating punishment for minor infractions. Riley drew the midnight to 0200 shift. Matthews had assigned it personally, calling it extra incentive to maintain standards. She walked the squad bay in darkness, red lights casting everything in crimson. 59 sleeping bodies, the sound of breathing and snoring, and the occasional nightmare murmur. Standard patrol routes start at the DI office, walk. The center aisle, check the head, check the emergency exits, repeat. But Riley didn't walk the center. She hugged the walls, moving through shadows, using support columns for cover-checking corners before rounding them. Her head on a swivel, left right behind, up, like she expected contact. She paused at windows staying to the side, using reflections to observe the exterior without silhouetting herself. Checked door seals for tampering, noted which floor tiles creaked, stepped around them on the return trip. This wasn't fire guard. This was a combat patrol in a non-permissive environment. Jackson was awake had been since she'd started moving. He watched through slitted eyes as she conducted what any infantry marine would recognize as a security sweep. She'd just cleared the northeast corner, using techniques you didn't learn in boot camp. You learned them in places where the wrong corner could get you killed. He said nothing, just logged it in his mental file that was getting thicker every day. Week 2 ended with rifle range qualification day. Live ammunition-timed courses of fire, pass-fail stakes that determined whether you continued training or got dropped to a remedial marksmanship platoon. Torres ran the line with absolute authority. Shooters on the line, lock and load 1 magazine, 30 rounds. The distinct sound of magazines seating charging handles racking. Riley stood at lane 7 M4 carbine at low ready eye protection, making the world slightly yellow-tinted. 50 meters, you've got 60 seconds to engage 10 targets. Watch your lane, fire when ready. Chaos erupted. 50 rifles barking brass, ejecting the smell of gunpowder, and CLP gun oil mixing with South Carolina humidity. Recruits fired in bursts, 3 rounds per target, controlled pairs, some going full panic and dumping entire magazines. Riley's rifle spoke differently. Single measured shots. Breathe, press reset. Breathe, press reset. 10 rounds in 12 seconds. Then silence. Torres walked behind the line counting. Most recruits were still shooting magazines, running dry, some fumbling reloads. Riley stood at the low-ready safety on waiting. He moved to her lane, looked down range. All 10 targets showed hits. He raised binoculars, not just hits, headshots. 10 rounds, 10 perfect cranial hits groups so tight they could have been fired from a bench rest. Torres's jaw tightened. He walked to Riley's position. Reload. 25 meters, 10 rounds, 30 seconds. She executed. 10 more perfect hits. 100 meters, 10 rounds, 45 seconds. Perfect again. Ceasefire. Torres's voice cracked like thunder. Carter, step off the line. Riley safed her weapon, dropped the magazine, locked the bolt back, moved to the designated area behind the firing line. Torres inspected her rifle, checked the optic mount standard issue, no modifications. Checked the barrel factory, not match grade. Checked the trigger pull regulation, 7 pounds, not a custom job. Have you fired rifles before boot camp? No, Sergeant. Pistol shotguns, air rifles, no, Sergeant. Where did you learn to shoot? I followed your instructions, Sergeant. Breathe sight, picture trigger press, like you demonstrated. Torres stared at her for a long 5 seconds, then at the target, then back at her. That's the tightest group I've seen from a recruit in 6 years. Expert marksmen don't shoot that clean on day 1. Riley said nothing. You're either a natural talent that comes along once a decade, or you're lying to me about your background. Which is it? I don't know, Sergeant. I just did what you taught us. He wanted to push, wanted to break her down until the truth spilled out. But technically she hadn't violated any rules. She'd simply performed exceptionally well. Return to the line, next evolution. As Riley walked back, Hansen muttered to Kim, probably slept with a range instructor back home, got private lessons. Kim nodded. Yeah, no way someone shoots like that without experience. The rumor started spreading before lunch. By dinner, half the platoon believed Riley had prior shooting experience she'd lied about on her enlistment forms. Nobody considered the alternative that she was exactly what she claimed to be, just exponentially more capable than anyone expected. And nobody wondered why that might be. Week 3, day 19, hand-to-hand combat training. The pit, a sand-filled area surrounded by recruits sitting in formation. Drill instructors standing at corners like boxing referees. Matthews loved this evolution. Nothing revealed character like controlled violence. Combat is inevitable in the Marine Corps. You will face enemies who want you dead. I need to know you can fight back. He scanned the formation. Hansen, center of the pit. Hansen stood, walked to the middle. 5'9", 155 pounds athletic build, moved with the confidence of someone who'd never lost a physical confrontation. Matthews smiled. Carter, join her. The formation sucked in collective breath. This was execution, not training. Hansen had 40 pounds and 5 inches on Riley. Riley stood, walked to the pit, faced Hansen across 6 feet of sand. Basic holds and escapes. Carter's on defense. Hansen's going to demonstrate proper application of a rear control position. Hansen take her down, establish control. Carter escape using techniques we covered. Begin. Hansen move fast. Close distance got behind. Riley wrapped both arms around her torso, lifted. It was textbook, perfect technique. for exactly 2 seconds. Riley dropped her weight-created space with her hips rotated into Hansen instead of away, threaded her arm through the gap, and suddenly Hansen was bent forward with Riley controlling her shoulder joint. 3 seconds, maybe 4. The movement had been so fluid it looked choreographed. Hansen went down. Riley released, immediately stepped back. Silence. Matthews stared. "Where did you learn that?" "I don't know, Sergeant. Reflex." "Reflex." Matthews walked closer. "That was a standing shoulder lock reversal. We don't teach that until the Marine Combat Instructor course. Try again." Hansen came at her angrier, faster. Got an arm around Riley's neck this time, attempted rear naked choke. Riley tucked her chin, protected her airway, stepped to the side, used Hansen's momentum to spin her into an off-balance position, then simply stepped away as Hansen stumbled. 4 seconds. "Stop!" Matthews' voice carried disbelief. "Carter, you're telling me you've never had combat training?" "No, Sergeant." Martial arts self-defense classes, older brothers who wrestled, no, Sergeant. He studied her face, looking for tells. She gave him nothing. Just stood there breathing normally, not even sweating. "Sit down, both of you." As they returned to formation, Jackson leaned toward the recruit next to him, Recruit Davis, former Army Reserve. "Did you see that movement?" Davis nodded slowly. "Yeah, that's Krav Maga, maybe jiu-jitsu, definitely not beginner stuff." "She said she's never trained." "Then she's lying, or..." Davis trailed off. "Or what? Or she's so well trained that this stuff is unconscious, which means years of practice, which means she's not who she says she is." They watched Riley sit down face blank, like she hadn't just dismantled someone 40 pounds heavier in under 5 seconds. Jackson's mental file was becoming a book. Speaking of precision and timing, you know what every modern operator needs? A reliable smartwatch that can handle extreme conditions. We're talking military-grade durability, GPS navigation that works in dead zones, heart rate monitoring for stress management, and tactical features like sunrise-sunset data and barometric pressure readings. The kind of tech that looks civilian but performs like special forces equipment. Water-resistant to 200 meters battery, life measured in weeks, not days, and a blackout mode that kills all light emissions. Because when seconds matter, your gear can't fail you. That's the kind of equipment Riley would actually trust. Day 21 brought the medical emergency that changed calculations. Obstacle course, third run-through temperature hitting 88 degrees with humidity that turned air into soup. Recruit Patel, 20 years old, barely 5 feet tall, heart bigger than her body, attempted the rope swing across a mud pit, grabbed the rope, swung, didn't make the far side. She landed wrong. The sound her ankle made carried across the course a wet snap that made experienced Marines wince. Patel screamed. Not the scream of surprise, the scream of bone grinding against bone. Recruits froze. Drill instructors started running. But Riley was closer. She'd been 3 obstacles back. She reached Patel in 6 seconds, dropped to her knees, didn't touch the injury yet. "Where else are you hurt?" "My ankle. Oh God, my ankle." Riley's hands moved with clinical precision, checked Patel's neck for injuries negative, checked her spine alignment stable, checked her breathing rapid but unobstructed. Only then did she look at the ankle. Compound fracture, bone visible through skin, already swelling blood starting to seep. Riley's face never changed. She pulled her t-shirt over her head, sports bra underneath regulation, and tore the shirt into strips with her teeth. Created a pressure bandage, applied it with exact tension. Not too tight, not too loose. Then she elevated Patel's leg, using her own thigh as a prop. "You're going to be fine. Breathe with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Stay with me." Dr. Chen arrived with a medical cart, stopped short, looked at Riley's field dressing. The way she'd controlled bleeding, stabilized the limb, kept Patel conscious and focused. "Who taught you trauma medicine?" Riley looked up. "Basic first aid, ma'am." "That's not basic first aid. That's field triage. Where did you learn it?" "Health class in high school, ma'am." Dr. Chen's eyes narrowed. "Health class." "Yes, ma'am." The doctor said nothing else. Just took over treatment-loaded Patel onto the cart, but her mind was working. She'd been a Navy corpsman before becoming a physician. She'd seen Marines come back from Helmand and Ramadi. The way Riley had moved, checking vitals in proper order, managing the wound with practiced efficiency, keeping the patient calm. That wasn't civilian knowledge. That was combat experience. She made a note to pull Riley's medical file, check for prior service, because nobody learned to manage a traumatic injury that well from a high school textbook. That night, the rumor mill processed new data. Recruit Davis started the theory. I'm telling you, she's got to be former military, maybe foreign, Israeli Defense Forces. They train women? Foster shook his head. File says no prior service. They check that stuff. Files can be wrong or falsified. Why would someone with actual training come to boot camp? Davis had no answer for that, but Jackson, listening from his rack, thought he might. There were programs, classified programs, where operators went back through training under different identities: counterintelligence, testing security protocols, deep cover work. If that was true, then Riley Carter wasn't here to become a Marine. She already was one, and they'd all been played. Okay, pause for just 5 seconds. If you're still watching it, means you're starting to see that Riley isn't who everyone thinks she is. Those little details, those perfect movements, they're adding up, aren't they? Smash that like button. If you're wondering the same thing, I am. What is she hiding? Because we're about to find out, and it's going to blow your mind. Week 4 introduced the theory component. Classroom instruction on tactics, strategy, military history. Most recruits struggled with abstract concepts. They were doers, not thinkers. Riley sat in the back row taking notes in handwriting so neat it could have been printed. The instructor, a staff sergeant with a degree in military history, covered the Battle of Fallujah. Urban combat room, clearing close quarters battle. He drew diagrams on the whiteboard. This is a fatal funnel, the doorway where insurgents concentrate fire. How do you clear it? Hands went up. Wrong answers followed. Run through fast. Throw grenades first. Shoot through the walls. The staff sergeant sighed. Carter, you're quiet back there. What's your answer? Riley looked up from her notes. Flashbang to disorient defenders, then split the fatal funnel with 2 operators entering simultaneously. 1 high, 1 low, each clearing their designated sector with overlapping fields of fire, while a third provides rear security against flanking counterattack. The classroom went silent. The staff sergeant blinked. That's exactly right. Where did you learn that terminology? You just explained it, Staff Sergeant. I was listening. I explained basic concepts. You just described Mount Doctrine from the Marine Corps Close Combat Manual. Have you read it? No, Staff Sergeant. Then how? Logical deduction. Staff Sergeant. You minimize exposure, maximize coverage, maintain security. Those principles apply to most tactical scenarios. The Staff Sergeant stared at her for a long moment, then moved on. But after class, he pulled Riley's file, read it carefully, then made a phone call to Captain Brooks. Sir, we need to talk about Recruit Carter. Either she's the most naturally gifted tactical thinker I've encountered in 15 years, or she's had formal training she's not disclosing. Brooks added it to the growing list of inconsistencies. Day 28 brought the land navigation course, 12 square miles of South Carolina wilderness map, and compass checkpoints to find time limit to beat. This separated those who understood terrain from those who got lost walking to their cars. Riley's group, Jackson Foster, and 2 others. They'd drawn the hardest course, 8 checkpoints, 6 hours terrain that included swamp pine forest and hills that made your calves scream. Jackson took charge initially. He'd done land nav in Army Reserve, plotted their route, calculated distances, estimated time between points. They found checkpoint 1, fine. Checkpoint 2 took longer. Foster misread the terrain, led them 200 meters off course. By checkpoint 3, they were 40 minutes behind schedule. Checkpoint 4 didn't exist where the map said it should. We're lost, Foster admitted. Totally lost. Jackson rechecked his plot. No, we're here. He pointed to a spot on the map. The checkpoint should be 200 meters northeast. They searched. Nothing. Riley, who'd been silent for 3 hours, finally spoke. We're not where you think we are. Jackson looked up. What? She pointed at a tree line. That ridge runs north-south. Your plot has us east of it. We're west. We drifted during the last movement. How do you know? The sun angle, vegetation pattern, and the creek we crossed 20 minutes ago, it's not on your plotted route. It's here. She tapped a different spot on the map. Jackson looked where she indicated. If she was right, They drifted 800 meters off course. That's a lot of drift for flat terrain. Riley shrugged. Easy to do in dense vegetation without constant resection. Foster stared at her. What's resection? Triangulating your position using terrain features. Basic land navigation. We haven't learned that yet. Riley went quiet, realized she'd slipped. Jackson studied her face, then the map, then made a decision. Okay, Carter, if you're so sure, lead us to checkpoint 4. She hesitated. I'd rather not. Why? Because I might be wrong. But you don't think you are. Silence. Lead, Jackson said. It wasn't a request. Riley took the map, studied it for 30 seconds, then started walking. Not northeast where the plot indicated, southwest, straight toward terrain that looked identical to every other patch of forest. 15 minutes later, they found checkpoint 4, exactly where Riley said it would be. Nobody spoke. They marked their card, moved to checkpoint 5. Riley navigated them to all remaining checkpoints. They finished 40 minutes early, first group back. Gunny Miller, running the exercise, checked their card, looked at their route, then at Riley. Who navigated? Jackson answered. Team effort, Gunny. Don't lie to me, recruit. Carter took point for the last 5 checkpoints, Gunny. Miller studied Riley. You know, terrain association, Carter. Just followed the map, Gunny. The map doesn't show half the micro-terrain you navigated through. You were reading ground. That's an advanced skill. He paused. Where'd you learn it? Hiking back home, Gunny. Where's home? Wisconsin, Gunny. Wisconsin's flat as a pancake. Riley said nothing. Miller let it go. But he walked straight to Captain Brooks's office afterward. Sir, that Carter recruit just navigated 12 square miles of unmarked terrain like she had GPS in her head. I've seen recon Marines with less precision. Brooks opened Riley's file again. The inconsistencies were piling up. Expert marksmanship, advanced hand-to-hand combat, field medicine, tactical theory, land navigation, all from a 22-year-old college dropout with no military background. Something was very wrong with this picture. He picked up his phone, dialed a number he rarely used. This is Captain Brooks' training battalion. I need a background verification on a recruit. Name Riley Carter. Serial number. He read it off. Flag it priority. Something's not adding up. The voice on the other end acknowledged. Promised results within 72 hours. Brooks hung up, looked at Riley's service photo clipped to the file. Young face, quiet eyes, unremarkable in every visible way. But the data told a different story. The data screamed that Riley Carter was far more than she appeared. He just needed proof. Night fell on week 4 with the weight of accumulated exhaustion. Recruits collapsed into their racks like soldiers after a firefight. Some fell asleep before their heads hit pillows. Riley lay awake, again. Always. Jackson watched her from 3 racks down. She never seemed to fully sleep, just rested with one eye open, metaphorically speaking. Always ready, always alert. He'd been compiling evidence for weeks now. The perfect footlocker spacing, the tactical movement during fire guard, the muscle memory with weapons, the hand-to-hand skills, the medical response, the navigation. Individually, each could be explained. Collectively, they painted a picture of someone with extensive military training. But why lie about it? Why hide prior service, unless it was service that couldn't be acknowledged? Service that existed in the shadows where official records didn't reach. Special operations, black ops, classified programs, the kind of work that made people disappear into legend. Jackson closed his eyes, decided he'd keep watching, keep collecting data, because eventually the truth always surfaced. And when it did, he wanted to be ready. That week 5 began with an announcement that sent ripples through the platoon. The Crucible. Matthews said, voice carrying the gravity of religious pronouncement. 54 hours, 48 miles, 2 MREs, minimal sleep, maximum pain. This is where we separate Marines from civilians. The Crucible was legend, the final test. Everything Bootcamp had prepared them for compressed into 2.5 days of controlled suffering designed to forge warriors from raw material. Riley showed no reaction, just nodded slightly like someone receiving expected orders. But Hansen saw it differently. Butterfly's going to break, she whispered to Kim. 54 hours, she'll quit by hour 12. Kim agreed. Want to take bets? They didn't notice Riley's eyes tracking their conversation. Didn't see the microscopic tightening around her mouth. The slight adjustment of her posture into something harder. The crucible would reveal everything, one way or another. Truth had a way of surfacing under pressure, and pressure was exactly what the next 54 hours would bring. You know what's interesting about people like Riley? They plan for the long game. Smart veterans know that transitioning from military to civilian life requires financial strategy. That's where specialized investment services for former service members come in. Tax-advantaged accounts that understand military pay structures, VA loan expertise, and investment portfolios designed around deployment schedules. Advisors who actually get what it means to serve, who know how to maximize your benefits while building real wealth. Because your service shouldn't just earn respect, it should earn you a secure future. Financial discipline is just another form of tactical preparation. Day 33, 0300 hours. The crucible began not with fanfare but with air horns and chaos. 60 recruits scrambling in darkness, full packs, rifles, gear that weighed close to 70 pounds. The South Carolina night offered no mercy, temperature in the low 40s, humidity making everything damp and miserable. Move, move, move! Drill instructors swarmed like angry hornets. You've got 90 seconds to form up, or the entire platoon loses breakfast privileges. Riley's pack was ready, had been ready since lights out. She was dressed, equipped, and standing at attention while others fumbled with bootlaces and equipment straps. Jackson noticed. Of course he noticed. She'd prepared for this, like she'd known exactly when it would start, like she'd done it before. The first event, a 12-mile hike to the field training area, full combat load, no breaks. Recruits started strong, energy high, adrenaline masking fatigue. By mile 6, the formation had stretched. Stronger recruits pulling ahead, weaker falling behind. Matthews prowled the column like a predator identifying weakness. Riley stayed middle of the pack, not leading, not struggling, just maintaining a steady economical pace that consumed minimum energy for maximum distance. Infantry march discipline. The kind you learn by walking patrol in hostile territory, where inefficient movement got people killed. Mile 8 brought the first casualty. Recruit Lee collapsed heat exhaustion, despite the cold body simply giving up. Courtman loaded her onto a vehicle, 1 down, 59 remaining. Mile 10, Hansen started flagging. Her athletic build was designed for explosive power, not endurance suffering. Riley passed her without comment, steady as a machine. "How are you not tired?" Hansen gasped. Riley didn't answer, just kept walking. They reached the training area at 0700, 4 hours of movement. Recruits collapsed wherever they stopped, gulping water, massaging cramping legs. Riley set her pack down with deliberate care. Didn't collapse. Stayed standing, scanning the perimeter, checking fields of fire and dead space like she was expecting contact. Jackson saw it. So did Gunny Miller. Miller approached her. "You good, Carter?" "Yes, Gunny?" "You're not even breathing hard." "I pace myself, Gunny. Most recruits your size are destroyed right now. You look like you just finished a warm-up jog." Riley said nothing. Miller studied her for a long moment, then walked away, but his radio came up. "Captain Brooks, this is Miller. That Carter situation. It's getting more obvious. She's not struggling at all." Brooks, monitoring from the command post, keyed his radio. "Copy. Keep observing. I'm waiting on that background check." Event 2, Tactical Scenario. Simulated enemy position, objectives to capture, limited ammunition, teamwork required. Recruits split into fire teams. Riley ended up with Jackson, Foster, Davis, and Kim. Kim is team leader, alphabetical assignment, nothing personal. Kim studied the objective. A fortified position, 200 meters uphill, observers with blank ammunition, wind condition requiring physical contact with the target marker. "Okay," Kim said, trying to sound confident. "We'll do a frontal assault, rush them fast, overwhelmed with numbers." Davis frowned. "That's a fatal funnel. They'll mow us down in the open." "You got a better idea," Riley spoke quietly. "Flank left, use that depression for cover. 2-person base of fire from the tree line to fix their attention. 3-person assault element moves during their suppression. We hit them from the side while they're focused forward." Everyone stared at her. Kim's face hardened. "I'm team leader." I know. Just a suggestion. We're doing frontal assault. They did frontal assault. Lasted 40 seconds before the observers killed them all with blank fire. Failed the evolution. Matthews appeared face like a thundercloud. What kind of brain-dead tactical planning was that? Kim, explain your decision. I thought speed would overcome their position, sir. You thought wrong. Carter, I heard you suggest a flanking maneuver. Why didn't your team leader listen? She's the team leader, sir. Her decision to make. But you knew the right answer. Riley stayed silent. Matthews turned to the group. Repeat the evolution. Carter's in charge this time. Kim's face went red, but orders were orders. Riley took team leader, laid out the plan again slowly, clearly making sure everyone understood their role. Positioned Davis and Foster as base of fire. Led Jackson and Kim on the flanking approach. They executed. Base of fire drew attention. Assault element moved during noise and distraction. Hit the objective from the side. 45 seconds. Complete success. Matthews nodded slowly. That's how you use terrain and fire superiority. Good work, Carter. As they reorganized, Kim pulled Riley aside. How did you know that would work? Basic tactics. Use cover, create diversion, hit weakness. Nobody thinks like that on their first try. Riley met her eyes. I guess I got lucky. Kim didn't believe her, but she also couldn't prove anything, so she just walked away, adding Riley to the growing list of people who suspected something was very wrong. Hour 26 of the Crucible. Night operations, sleep deprivation hitting hard. Recruits stumbled through darkness, executing tasks with bodies running on fumes and willpower. Riley showed no degradation. If anything, she seemed more alert. Like darkness was her natural environment, the night march covered 8 miles through terrain that ate ankles and tested nerves. Simulated enemy contact every 2 miles, blank fire explosions chaos, designed to stress cognitive function under fatigue. Contact 3 came at mile 5. Explosions left and right, blank fire from the tree-line drill instructors, screaming contradictory orders. Recruits hit the dirt. Some froze, some panicked. Riley moved. She rolled. Right came up to a knee, acquired the threat direction, and began returning fire with blank ammunition. Proper fire discipline controlled pairs, exactly like someone who'd done this with live rounds. Then she started giving orders. Jackson right flank security. Foster established a base of fire center Davis, covering Lee's movement to cover. She wasn't the team leader, wasn't in charge, but her voice carried command authority that made people obey without thinking. The chaos organized. Fire team became functional unit. They executed a textbook tactical withdrawal under pressure. When the scenario ended, Matthews stood in the middle of the perimeter, staring at Riley. Carter, front and center. She approached. Who put you in charge? Nobody, sir. I was reacting to contact. You were giving orders. Tactical orders. Proper orders. Where did you learn fire and maneuver doctrine? Classroom training, sir. Bull. Classroom training doesn't make you command voice in contact. Real combat does that. He stepped closer. You've been in combat before, haven't you? No, sir. I don't believe you. That's your right, sir. Matthews wanted to push, wanted to break her right here. But he had 58 other recruits to manage and 12 more hours of Crucible to supervise. We're not done with this conversation, he said. Yes, sir. Riley returned to formation, but every instructor was watching her now. The quiet recruit who'd been underestimated had just demonstrated leadership under fire that most sergeants would envy. The mask was slipping, and everyone was starting to notice. Hour 48, the team rescue scenario. Simulate casualty extraction under fire, carry a 200-pound dummy across an obstacle course, time limit. 30 minutes failure meant repeating until success. Riley's team drew the worst course uphill over walls, through water obstacle, carrying dead weight the entire way. They started strong, Jackson and Davis taking the head and feet of the dummy, others providing security and managing obstacles. But fatigue was winning. By obstacle 3, they were falling apart. Davis slipped in mud, nearly dropped his end. Jackson's grip was failing. Hanson's team was running parallel. She looked over, saw Riley's team struggling, and smiled. Butterfly's team is going to fail. Watch. They hit the wall obstacle. 8 feet tall, smooth face required climbing while managing the dummy. Impossible for exhausted recruits. Riley assessed. Put the dummy down. Jackson Davis, your base. Foster Kim, climb first, secure the top. I'll push the dummy up to you. You can't lift 200 pounds, Kim said. We'll see. They positioned. Foster and Kim scrambled up. Riley grabbed the dummy, a dead-weight bag, designed to simulate carrying wounded, and lifted. Her technique was perfect. Legs driving core, engaged arms secondary. She walked the dummy up her body, got it overhead, and pushed it toward the waiting hands above. Foster and Kim pulled from the top. Riley pushed from below. The dummy went over. Then Riley vaulted the wall herself. One motion, fluid. Like she'd done obstacle courses 1,000 times. They continued. Water obstacle next. Wade through chest-deep cold water while maintaining control of the dummy. Riley took the lead position. Moved through water with the dummy held high, keeping it dry, navigating the uneven bottom without stumbling. The others followed her path exactly. Final obstacle, barbed wire crawl. Low crawl, 50 meters with the dummy. Riley organized them into a relay. 10 meters each, rotate, stay fresh. Fast transitions. They executed. Finished with 6 minutes to spare. First team done. Matthews checked his stopwatch. Looked at Riley, then at his fellow drill instructors. The message in his eyes was clear. This is not normal. Stop. Right here. We're at the edge of the biggest reveal in this entire story. Everything you've seen so far, every strange moment, every impossible skill, it's all about to make sense. But first tell me in the comments, what do you think that tattoo really means? Drop your theories below, then keep watching. You're not ready for this. Hour 53, final dawn. 1 hour remaining. Recruits were zombies. 53 hours of constant physical exertion, minimal food, almost no sleep. Most could barely think straight. The final evolution assault on Warrior Station. Uphill charge, simulated enemy fire objective at the summit. Symbolic finish to the crucible. 60 recruits formed up. Matthews addressed them. This is it. Everything you've survived has led here. At the top of the hill you become Marines, but you have to earn it. Ready. Yes, sir. Move out. They started climbing. The hill was brutal 40-degree incline, loose sand, no good footing. Every step up meant sliding half a step back. Recruits fell, got up, fell again. Some crawled, some helped each other. Riley climbed steady, same economical pace, same unflagging energy, like her body had reserves nobody else possessed. Hansen, near collapse, screamed at her. How are you not dying right now? Riley paused, looked back, extended her hand. Hansen stared at it. I don't need your help. We're all getting to the top. Take my hand. I said I don't need... Riley grabbed Hansen's wrist, pulled her up 3 feet. Stop fighting and climb. Hansen, too exhausted to argue, climbed. Riley matched her pace, staying alongside, close enough to catch her if she fell. They crested the hill together, collapsed at the top with 58 other recruits. Matthews stood above them. You are no longer recruits. You are Marines. Congratulations. Someone started crying, then someone else. Soon half the platoon was emotional relief, pride, exhaustion, all mixing into raw humanity. Riley sat still, face neutral, but her fingers traced over the butterfly tattoo on her wrist. The movement was unconscious, habitual, a memorial gesture that nobody understood yet. Jackson saw it. Saw the 7 tiny stars hidden in the wing pattern, if you knew where to look. Saw the Roman numeral 7 barely visible in the design. 7. Unit 7. Something. He filed it away. Another piece of the puzzle. The crucible ended with a recovery day. Hot food, medical checks, rest before the final week of boot camp. Recruits scattered across the barracks, sleeping, eating, processing what they'd survived. Captain Brooks sat in his office staring at his computer screen. The background check had finally come back. Status classified. Contact DoD personnel security. He'd never seen that flag before. It meant Riley Carter's records were protected at a level above his clearance. He couldn't access her actual background without authorization from Department of Defense Personnel Security Office, which meant she was real. She was someone important enough to have classified protection. He picked up his phone, dialed a number that connected to Joint Special Operations Command Liaison Office. This is Captain Brooks, MCRD, Paris Island. I have a recruit whose background check flag classified. I need guidance on how to proceed. The voice on the other end asked for Riley's name and serial number. Brooks provided them. Long pause, keyboard clicking. Then, "Sir, you need to stop all inquiries immediately. Flag her file. Do not discuss with anyone. Your commanding officer will receive contact from appropriate authorities." "Is that clear? What's going on?" "Sir, that's above your clearance. Flag the file. Stop asking questions. Acknowledge." Brooks felt his stomach tighten. "Acknowledged." He hung up, stared at Riley's file photo. "Who the hell are you, Carter?" Day 54, morning formation. Normal routine, resuming after Crucible recovery. Matthews called the platoon to attention. "We have a distinguished visitor conducting routine training observation today. When she arrives, you will render proper military courtesy." "Understood." "Yes, sir." 10 minutes later, a vehicle pulled up. A woman stepped out in Navy working uniform rank insignia, showing Commander 05 high enough to command respect, senior enough to have serious authority. Commander Sarah Reeves, 42 years old, SEAL Community Liaison. Silver hair pulled into a tight bun. Face that had seen things most people couldn't imagine. She walked onto the parade deck with the bearing of someone who'd led troops in combat. Her eyes swept the formation once, then locked onto Riley, and stayed there. Matthews called the platoon to attention. Reeves returned his salute. "Carry on, drill instructor. I'm just observing." "Yes, ma'am." Training continued. Physical training evolution, calisthenics, running, functional fitness. Standard morning routine. But Reeves never looked away from Riley. She watched every movement, every exercise, the way Riley moved through familiar patterns, with unconscious precision. After PT, the platoon formed up for a run. 5 miles, standard distance. During mile 3, Hansen decided to push the pace. Tried to break Riley, started sprinting. Kim followed. Others tried to keep up. Riley stayed at her steady pace, not racing, not struggling, just maintaining. Hansen looked back, saw Riley still there, breathing controlled form, perfect. It infuriated her. She pushed harder. Mile 4. Hansen's legs started cramping. She stumbled. Riley passed her without slowing. Mile 5. Hansen had to walk. Riley finished with the lead group barely sweating. As the formation recovered, Hansen approached her, anger overriding judgment. "Why don't you just admit you're better than us? Stop pretending to be normal." Riley looked at her. "I'm not pretending anything." "Bullshit. You're barely trying. Everything we struggle with you make look easy. What's your secret?" "There's no secret." "Liar!" Hansen shoved her, hard. Riley stumbled backward. Her blouse caught on Hansen's watch fabric, tearing at the shoulder seam. "Rip." The sound cut through morning air like a gunshot. Riley's shoulder exposed, and with it more ink. Not just the butterfly. A constellation of 7 small stars circling it. Roman numeral 7th, hidden in the butterfly's left wing. Tiny initials worked into the right wing, GM, SCTL, KP, Imster AHDN. And below it all in script so small, you had to be close to read it, "Until Valhalla." Time stopped. Everyone stared. Hansen's anger evaporated into confusion. Kim's mouth fell open. Matthews started forward. "Carter, what? Attention on deck." Commander Reeves's voice cracked like thunder. 60 recruits and 5 drill instructors snapped to attention. Reeves walked across the parade deck. Each step deliberate. She stopped directly in front of Riley. 3 seconds of absolute silence. Then Commander Reeves executed a perfect military salute, held it. "Sergeant Morgan," she said, voice carrying across the deck. "It's an honor." The parade deck had become a photograph. 60 recruits frozen in position, drill instructors locked at attention. Morning sun painting everything in sharp relief. Commander Reeves held her salute, eyes locked on Riley's face. Riley stood perfectly still. The torn fabric hung from her shoulder, revealing the tattoo in full detail now. 7 silver stars. Roman numeral 7th. Initials of the fallen. Words that marked her as something beyond what anyone had imagined. Matthews found his voice first. "Ma'am, I don't understand." "Sergeant Riley Morgan," Reeves said, still holding the salute. "Former member of Ghost Unit 7, Classified Special Operations Element. 6 years active deployment across 4 combat theaters." She finally dropped the salute, and apparently the toughest recruit in this entire training battalion. Hansen made a sound like she'd been punched in the stomach. Riley rendered the return salute crisp, precise, the muscle memory of someone who'd done it 10,000 times. "Ma'am, I'm Recruit Carter now. Just a recruit." "The hell you are!" Reeves turned to Matthews. "Drill instructor, I need your platoon to maintain current position while I conduct a brief review of this Marine service record. Are we clear?" "Yes, ma'am." Matthews sounded like he'd swallowed broken glass. Reeves pulled a tablet from her cargo pocket, unlocked it with a thumbprint. The screen displayed a classified document marked with more security warnings than most people saw in their entire careers. She turned it so the nearest drill instructors could see. Sergeant Riley Morgan, service number classified, MOS classified, unit designation classified, until now. Ghost Unit 7, Joint Special Operations Command, deployment history, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Somalia. Combat decorations, 3 Bronze Stars with Valor 1, Silver Star, Purple Heart, Navy, Marine, Corps, Commendation Medal with Combat Vive. The tablet showed a photo, Riley but different, harder, older somehow, despite being younger. Full combat gear rifle held with casual competence, standing with 11 other women in front of a desert landscape. Caption read, "Ghost Unit 7, Syria. August 2019. Jackson, standing in formation, felt his entire worldview tilt. He'd been right. He'd been right about everything. Reeves scrolled to the next page. Technical qualifications, expert marksman rifle and pistol, advanced tactical planning, SEER qualified survival evasion, resistance escape, combat trauma certified, sniper observer qualified, static line and freefall parachutist, combat diver. Foster whispered to Davis, "Holy languages Arabic, Kurdish, some Pashto. Clearance level TSSCI with special access program authorization." Reeves looked up. This Marine has forgotten more about warfare than most people will ever learn. Matthews stared at Riley. "Why didn't you say something?" Riley's voice stayed quiet. "Because I needed to earn it again, sir. The right way. No shortcuts, no special treatment. Just another recruit becoming a Marine." "You already are a Marine." "Was, sir. Past tense." Riley's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I left, had to leave, after Syria. After..." She stopped. "I needed to prove I could still do this without the secrets, without the classification. Just me and the standards everyone else meets." Reeves closed the tablet. "Matthews, you should know that Ghost Unit 7 was dissolved following Operation Silent Echo in August 2019. Classified operation targeting high-value enemy leadership in northern Syria. 4 team members killed in action. 8 survived. Sergeant Morgan received medical discharge following diagnosis of post-traumatic stress and combat-related psychological injury. She disappeared for 3 years. "And came back as a recruit," Captain Brooks said, walking onto the deck from the command building. He'd been listening on radio, hiding her entire background, going through boot camp like she'd never served a day. Riley met his eyes. "I served 6 years in the shadows, sir. Black operations, missions that don't exist on paper. I wanted to serve in the light, wear the uniform openly, be a Marine that people could actually see instead of a ghost who disappears after the job's done." "You could have come back as an NCO," Brooks said. "Lateral transfer, we would have taken you." "I didn't want to transfer, sir. I wanted to rebuild, from the ground up, prove that the person I used to be wasn't destroyed by what happened in Syria." Her voice never rose, never wavered. "I needed boot camp, needed to submit to the process, needed to remember what it means to be part of something bigger than the mission." Silence. Hansen, still standing nearby, looked like she might be sick. "I called you a princess. I said you didn't belong here. Her voice broke. Riley turned to her. "You didn't know. Nobody was supposed to know. But I shoved you. I've been horrible to you for weeks. You were testing me, making sure I could handle pressure. That's not horrible. That's exactly what drill instructors are supposed to do." Riley's expression softened slightly. "And you made me stronger, so thank you." Hansen started crying, just stood there in formation, tears running down her face, unable to speak. Kim stepped forward, broke formation. "I sabotaged you, Put contraband in your locker, tried to get you in trouble. I know. I found it, moved it to your locker to send a message. You could have reported me, could have gotten me kicked out. Why would I do that? You were frustrated, acting out. It's understandable. Riley paused. Besides, warriors don't destroy each other over small things. We're supposed to be on the same team. Reeves watched the exchange with something like approval. Then she addressed the entire formation. Let me be very clear about something. What Sergeant Morgan did volunteering to go through recruit training after 6 years of special operations service, that takes more courage than most of you understand. She could have stayed retired, could have taken contractor jobs making 6 figures. Instead, she came here to suffer alongside you, to be mocked and underestimated, all because she needed to prove something to herself. She walked slowly along the formation, making eye contact. Ghost Unit 7 was one of the most elite elements in JSOC. 12 women selected from across all service branches, selection course with a 92% failure rate, training that would break most people. Missions in countries we don't officially operate in against enemies you'll never hear about on the news. Jackson felt goosebumps rise on his arms. This was real. This was actually real. 4 of those women died in Syria, Reeves continued, killed by an enemy operative who ambushed their extraction point. Sergeant Morgan survived because she was providing overwatch from a sniper position 800 meters away. She watched her sisters die and couldn't save them. That kind of trauma doesn't heal quickly or easily. Riley's face remained neutral, but her fingers moved to the butterfly tattoo, traced the outline unconsciously. Those stars represent the fallen, Reeves said, pointing. GM, SCTL, KP, IMSAR, AHDN, their initials. The butterfly is a memorial to their call sign, Monarch Actual, the unit commander who died holding the line so others could escape. Sergeant Morgan wears their names on her skin so she never forgets what leadership costs. Matthews looked at Riley with new eyes. Ma'am, with respect, why the pink butterfly? Why something that looks so civilian? Riley finished. Because that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. A normal tattoo, something unremarkable. The real meaning is hidden. The stars are small, the numerals are camouflaged in the design, the initials are tiny script. Unless you know what to look for, it's just a pink butterfly a girl got at the beach. She paused. We all had them. 12 butterflies, 12 women, 1 unit. Now there are 8 of us left. Where are the other 7? Brooks asked. Scattered, different lives, trying to heal in different ways. Riley's voice went distant. We agreed to separate for a while. Too painful to stay together when 4 chairs stayed empty. Reeves pulled up another image on the tablet. This is classified, but given the circumstances, I'm authorizing disclosure to command staff only. She showed Brooks. Operation Silent Echo, August 12th, 2019. Ghost Unit 7 was tasked with eliminating a high-value target coordinating attacks against coalition forces. Intel was solid, planning was thorough, execution was flawless right up until the extraction. The image showed aftermath, destroyed vehicles, blast patterns, evidence of a firefight that had gone catastrophically wrong. Enemy operative we'd been tracking for 2 years, call sign, the broker, arms dealer, tactical advisor, terrorist facilitator. He knew we were coming, had a counter-ambush prepared at the extraction point, used IEDs and pre-positioned snipers, killed 4 of our people before we could react. Brooks studied the image. How did anyone survive? Sergeant Morgan went off script, Reeves said. Saw the ambush developing, called abort, provided covering fire from her overwatch position, while the survivors fought their way to secondary extraction, burned through 12 magazines keeping enemy heads down. Took shrapnel from an RPG that landed too close, kept fighting until the helicopter arrived. She closed the tablet. Silver Star citation says she saved 8 lives that day. What it doesn't say is that she blamed herself for the 4 she couldn't save. That guilt drove her out of the service, into therapy, into 3 years of trying to figure out who she was without the unit. Riley spoke quietly. I wasn't Sergeant Morgan anymore. Couldn't be. That person died in Syria with my sisters. So I became Riley Carter, college dropout. Nobody special, just someone trying to find purpose again. And you found it here, Matthews said. It wasn't a question. Yes, sir. Bootcamp doesn't care who you used to be. It only cares about who you're willing to become. I needed that reset. Needed to submit to the process everyone else goes through. Needed to prove that I could be a Marine without the classified missions and the secret squirrel stuff. Just a regular Marine. Someone who wears the uniform in daylight instead of shadows. Gunny Miller stepped forward. Sergeant, my nephew served with 3rd Battalion in Helmand Province 2018. He wrote letters about Ghost Unit, said they were legends, said they pulled off missions that shouldn't have been possible. Riley nodded. Helmand, we supported that operation, provided reconnaissance and direct action when conventional forces couldn't reach the objective. He said Ghost Unit saved his platoon. Ambush situation, they were going to be overrun, and then 12 women appeared out of nowhere and turned the fight around. Operation Granite Shield, November 2018. I remember. Miller's voice cracked slightly. He's alive because of you. He made it home because of what your unit did. He made it home because he was brave enough to keep fighting when things got bad. We just provided support. You're too humble, Sergeant. No, Gunny, I'm just realistic. We were good at our jobs, but we weren't invincible. Syria proved that. Here's something most people don't know. The skills Riley has don't just disappear when you leave service. There's a massive demand for advanced tactical training instructors, executive protection specialists, and security consultants. Online certification programs now offer courses in close protection, threat assessment, crisis management, and tactical leadership that are recognized globally. Taught by former special operations personnel, these programs let you turn your experience into credentials that command 6-figure salaries in the private sector. Because your expertise has value beyond the uniform and the right education's platform helps you monetize what you already know. The formation held position for another 10 minutes, while Reeves and Brooks discussed Riley's status. Finally, Brooks gave the order, platoon at ease, 10-minute break, then resume normal training schedule. Bodies relaxed. Voices erupted in whispered conversation. Everyone staring at Riley, seeing her completely differently now. Hanson approached slowly. I owe you an apology, a real one, not just for shoving you, for everything. The comments, the rumors, the way I treated you. Riley shook her head. You don't owe me anything. Yes, I do. I was cruel. I made your life hell because you seemed weak and I... Hanson struggled with the words. I enjoyed having someone to look down on. That makes me a terrible person. It makes you human. Everyone needs to feel superior to someone. That's normal psychology. It's not okay. No, Riley agreed. It's not. But it's also not unforgivable. You weren't actually trying to destroy me. You were just trying to establish social dominance in a high-stress environment. I understand that dynamic. Hanson wiped her eyes. How are you not angry with me? Because anger doesn't serve any purpose here. You didn't know who I was. If you had known, you wouldn't have acted that way. So, the fault is partially mine for hiding my background. Riley paused. And honestly, having someone push me, test me, doubt me, that helped. It reminded me that I can handle pressure without breaking, so thank you for that. You're thanking me for being a bully. I'm thanking you for being honest about your feelings instead of hiding them. Authentic cruelty is better than fake friendship. Hanson laughed a sound, somewhere between humor and disbelief. You're the weirdest person I've ever met. I've been told that before. Kim joined them, face pale. I need to confess something to Captain Brooks, the sabotage. I can't let that slide now that I know who you are. Riley caught her arm. Kim, listen to me. What happened in boot camp stays in boot camp. You're going to be a Marine. Marines don't destroy each other over past mistakes. We move forward, understood. But I could have gotten you kicked out. But you didn't, and I handled it. So let it go. Kim stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but I'm still sorry. Apology accepted. Torres approached next rifle range instructor, who'd been suspicious from day one. Sergeant Morgan, I need to apologize for doubting your qualifications. You had every right to doubt, Sergeant. My shooting performance didn't match my claim background. That's a red flag. You did exactly what you're supposed to do, report inconsistencies. Still, I should have trusted that there was an explanation. Why would you trust without verification is how security breaches happen. Riley smiled slightly. You're a good instructor, Sergeant. You push me to perform at standard, not give me special treatment. That's exactly what I needed. Torres nodded slowly. Can I ask you something? That first qualification, all headshots at 50 meters, was that you holding back or showing off? Holding back. If I'd shot my actual standard, every round would have been in a 2-inch group at 100 meters. That would have been too obvious. What's your actual qualification score? Riley's expression went neutral. Classified. But let's just say that the marksmanship badges they gave me in Ghost Unit don't exist in the standard Marine Corps. Torres whistled low. Damn, wow. Jackson finally approached, having waited for the crowd to thin. Riley, or Sergeant, or whatever I'm supposed to call you now. Riley's fine. We're in the same platoon. I've been watching you for weeks, collecting evidence. I knew something was wrong with your story. I know, you're observant, good quality for a Marine. Why didn't you tell me? I would have kept the secret. Riley studied his face. Because the secret wasn't meant to be shared, and because you didn't need to know. Your job was to become a Marine, not solve mysteries about my background. Fair enough. Jackson paused. Can I ask what happens now? Do you leave boot camp, go back to special operations? I don't know yet. That's up to the chain of command. As if summoned, Captain Brooks called out, Morgan, my office, now. Riley snapped to attention. Yes, sir. She followed him across the parade deck, leaving whispers and stares in her wake. Esor. Brooks's office was standard military bureaucracy, metal desk filing cabinets, motivational posters about honor and courage, coffee that could strip paint. Commander Reeves was already there, standing by the window. Brooks gestured to a chair. Sit. Riley sat back, straight hands on knees. Perfect military bearing. I'll be direct, Brooks said. Your presence here creates a complicated situation. Normally, we'd process you for immediate transition to Fleet Marine Force. Your qualifications exceed boot camp by several orders of magnitude. But Commander Reeves has informed me that JSOC has interest in your status. Reeves turned from the window. The broker is still active, still operating, still killing coalition forces across the Middle East. We've been tracking him for the past 3 years, and we recently received intelligence that suggests he's planning something big, an attack that could kill hundreds. Riley's expression didn't change, but her hands tightened slightly on her knees. We're reactivating Ghost Unit, Reeves continued. Voluntary recall, the 8 survivors, one last mission. Take down the broker and dismantle his network permanently. With respect, ma'am, Ghost Unit is dead. Has been for 3 years. Ghost Unit is whatever we decide it is. And right now, we need the best tactical team we can assemble. Reeves pulled up her tablet again. 4 of the survivors have already volunteered. They're waiting for you to say yes. She turned the screen. 4 faces. Women Riley knew. Had fought beside. Had mourned with. Captain Sonia Chen. Weapons specialist. The best close-quarters combat operator Riley had ever seen. Lieutenant Maya Patel. Intelligence analyst turned field operative. Could hack anything with a processor. Staff Sergeant Jennifer Torres. Demolitions expert. Could build bombs from hardware store supplies. Sergeant First Class Alex Kimura, medic. Had kept people alive in conditions that should have been unsurvivable. Riley stared at their faces, felt something crack open in her chest. They said yes. They said yes if you lead them. They won't go without you. You're the tactical commander they trust. I'm not a commander anymore. I'm a recruit. You're whatever the mission needs you to be, Reeves said quietly. And this mission needs Sergeant Riley Morgan, not Recruit Riley Carter. Brooks leaned forward. Nobody's forcing you, Morgan. This is volunteer only. You can finish boot camp graduate with your platoon, serve out your enlistment as a regular Marine. You've earned that right. Or, Reeves added, you can put the uniform back on. Take command of Ghost Unit one more time. Finish what we started in Syria. Get justice for the 4 who didn't make it home. Riley closed her eyes, saw their faces. GM Gunnery Sergeant Gabriela Martinez, team leader, had died holding the line. SC Sergeant Sandra Cole, communications specialist, had been calling for extraction when the sniper found her. TL Technical Sergeant Tamara Lewis, Sniper Riley's partner, killed by the same RPG that wounded Riley. KP Corporal Kira Park, youngest member, 23 years old, had bled out from shrapnel wounds before the medevac arrived. 4 names, 4 stars. 4 ghosts that followed Riley through every quiet moment. If I say yes, Riley said slowly, what happens to my platoon? They graduate in 3 weeks. You'd leave before then. Your absence would be explained as medical transfer. They'd never know the real reason. They deserve to know. They deserve honesty. Operational security doesn't allow for honesty, Reeves said. You know that. Riley opened her eyes. What are the mission parameters? Classified until you accept. But I can tell you this, the broker is in the Balkans, Bosnia, operating from a compound we've been surveilling for 6 months. He's training a new terrorist cell, using tactics that match what he used in Syria. We think he captured intelligence during Operation Silent Echo. Maybe from equipment we left behind. Maybe from interrogation of captured personnel before they died. He knows our methods. Possibly, which is why we need people who know his methods. You survived him once. You know how he thinks, how he operates. And the objective, kill or capture, preference for kill. He's too dangerous to risk extraction. Reeves paused. This is a black operation, Morgan, unsanctioned by host nation. If it goes wrong, the United States government will deny all knowledge. You'll be on your own. Riley sat silent for 30 seconds, processing, calculating, weighing the cost. The other 4, she finally said, are they ready psychologically, or are they still carrying trauma? They've all been through therapy, all cleared for duty, but honestly, none of us are ever fully ready. We just decide the mission matters more than the fear. Riley looked at Brooks. Sir, what's your recommendation? Brooks sighed. Officially, I recommend you finish Bootcamp. Serve as a regular Marine, build a normal life. You've given enough to special operations. He paused. Unofficially, those 4 women died because the broker outplayed us. He's still out there, still killing. If there's a chance to stop him to get justice to prevent future casualties, that's worth considering. Riley stood, walked to the window, looked out at the parade deck where her platoon was reforming for the next training evolution. Hansen was helping Foster adjust his pack straps. Kim was sharing water with Patel. Jackson was talking to Davis, both of them glancing toward the command building. They were becoming Marines, learning to rely on each other, building the bonds that would carry them through future deployments. She'd been part of that. For 6 weeks, she'd been one of them. But she wasn't really. She was something else, something that didn't fit neatly into the regular military structure. She was a ghost who'd tried to become solid again. And maybe that had been the wrong approach all along. If I do this, Riley said, not turning from the window, I want one condition. Name it, Reeves said. I graduate with my platoon, even if it's symbolic, even if I'm not physically present. I want my name on the graduation roster. I want to earn the Eagle Globe and anchor the same way everyone else does. No shortcuts, no special recognition. Just a regular recruit who met the standard. Brooks and Reeves exchanged glances. We can arrange that, Brooks said. You've completed enough of the crucible to qualify. The remaining evolutions are formalities. We'll process your graduation in absentia, forward your EGA to wherever you're deployed. Riley turned back to them. And my platoon gets told I had a family emergency. Medical transfer for personal reasons. Nothing classified. Nothing that makes them suspicious. Agreed. And if I die on this mission, my name goes on the memorial wall here. Not at some classified site nobody can visit. I want to be remembered as a Marine, not a ghost. Reeves' expression softened. You're not going to die, Morgan. You can't promise that. No, but I can promise that if the worst happens, you'll be remembered the way you want to be. Riley took a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Then I'm in. I'll lead Ghost Unit. One last time. Reeves smiled, the first genuine smile Riley had seen from her. Outstanding. We wheels up in 48 hours. You'll fly to Fort Bragg for mission briefing, then link up with the team at a forward staging base in Germany. 48 hours isn't much time. It's what we have. The broker is moving soon. Our window is narrow. Brooks stood, extended his hand. It's been an honor having you in my training battalion, Sergeant, even if I didn't know who you were for most of it. Riley shook his hand. The honor was mine, sir. This platoon, these drill instructors, this experience, it gave me something I'd lost. Thank you for that. What did it give you? Riley thought about it. Purpose without secrets, belonging without classification, the chance to be part of something simple and pure, just people trying to meet a standard together. She paused. I needed that more than I realized. Stift. If this story hit you as hard as it hit me, you need to see what happens next. I've got another video about a janitor at a military base who everyone ignored until a general walked in and saluted him. Same energy, different twist. It's linked at the end of this video. But first, let's finish Riley's story because there's one more piece you need to hear. Tasix Bomb. Riley spent the next 2 days in a strange limbo. Officially still a recruit, but everyone knew she wasn't. Drill instructors treated her with cautious respect. Fellow recruits approached her with a mix of awe and uncertainty. Hansen pulled her aside on the first evening. "I've been thinking about what you said, about authentic cruelty being better than fake friendship. Yeah, I want to be authentic friends, if that's allowed." Riley smiled a real smile, not the neutral mask she usually wore. "I'd like that. Can I ask you something personal? Depends on the question. The 4 who died in Syria, were they your friends?" Riley's smile faded. "They were more than friends. They were my sisters. When you deploy together, fight together, nearly die together, multiple times, that creates bonds civilians don't really understand. They knew everything about me, my fears, my weaknesses, my worst moments, and they still had my back." She paused. "Losing them felt like losing parts of myself. Is that why you came to boot camp, to find that feeling again?" "Partially, but also because I needed to prove that I could function without them, that I wasn't just effective as part of Ghost Unit, that I could be a Marine in any context with any team." Hansen nodded slowly. "Did you prove it?" "I think so. This platoon accepted me, challenged me, made me work for respect instead of just giving it based on past reputation. That's exactly what I needed. We would have accepted you anyway, if we'd known. That's the problem. If you'd known, the acceptance would have been based on my history, not my current performance. I needed to earn it as Riley Carter, the recruit, not Riley Morgan, the operator." "You're a weird person," Hansen said again, "but I respect the hell out of you. Feelings mutual. You're..." Jackson found her the next morning, before dawn PT. "I figured out why you seemed familiar. I couldn't place it until Commander Reeves showed that photo. But I served with a guy in the Army Reserve who'd deployed to Helmand. He had a photo in his locker blurry taken from distance, but it showed a group of women moving through a village during a firefight. He called it his good luck charm, said those women saved his entire platoon. Operation Granite Shield," Riley confirmed. "November 2018, your friend was with 3rd Battalion. Yeah, he never shut up about it. Said 12 women appeared out of nowhere, neutralized the ambush, then vanished before anyone could thank them properly. We had a strict no-contact protocol. Couldn't be seen, couldn't be acknowledged. Ghost Unit operated outside normal chain of command." Jackson sat down beside her. "That's got to be lonely, doing all that work and never getting recognition." "Recognition wasn't why we did it. We did it because the missions mattered, because conventional forces couldn't reach certain targets and someone had to." Riley paused. "The secrecy was actually freeing. No politics, no medal ceremonies, no pressure to perform for cameras. Just the mission and the team. Do you miss it every day? But I also know that version of my life is over. Ghost Unit died in Syria. What I'm about to do? This one last mission that's closure, not resurrection. What happens after? I come back, graduate boot camp, even if it's symbolic. Then I serve my enlistment as a regular Marine, maybe intelligence analyst, maybe training instructor. Something where I can contribute without the operational tempo destroying me again." Jackson nodded. "That sounds healthy." "We'll see. PTSD doesn't care about what sounds healthy, but I'm trying." Bestjurst. The final morning arrived with the weight of endings. Riley packed her sea bag minimal gear, mostly civilian clothes for the flight to Fort Bragg. Her uniform would be waiting at the destination. Matthews found her in the squad bay. "I've been a drill instructor for 8 years, trained over 2,000 recruits, and I've never felt worse about misjudging someone." "You didn't misjudge me, drill instructor. You judged me exactly as I presented myself. That was the whole point. Still, the things I said, the way I treated you. You treated me like every other recruit who needed to be tested. That's your job. You did it well." Matthews looked uncomfortable. "Commander Reeves told me about the Silver Star, about what you did in Syria, covering the retreat, getting wounded, saving 8 lives. I was in the right position at the right time." "That's not how Reeves described it. She said you went against orders, saw the ambush developing, called abort before command, confirmed it, started engaging enemy forces without authorization. I made a tactical decision based on battlefield observation. You disobeyed orders to save lives. Riley met his eyes. Yes, and I'd do it again. Orders are important, but when orders conflict with survival, you adjust. That's what leaders do. Matthews was quiet for a moment. I wish I'd known who you were. I would have learned from you instead of just yelling. You still can learn. The lesson is simple. Never assume someone's capability based on appearance. Test them. Observe them. Let their actions reveal truth. Riley paused. And maybe don't judge people's tattoos so harshly. Matthews actually smiled. Yeah, I'll work on that. The platoon formed up one last time with Riley present. Brooks had called a special formation to explain her departure. Recruit Carter has been selected for immediate transfer due to family circumstances requiring her presence. She'll complete her training at a later date through a different program. The lie came smoothly practiced. I expect you all to respect her privacy and refrain from speculation about the details. Hanson raised her hand. Sir, will she graduate with us? Her graduation will be processed administratively. She's met all requirements. But she won't be here for the ceremony. No. The platoon absorbed this in disappointed silence. They'd been through the crucible together. They'd earned the title together. Graduation without Riley felt incomplete. Riley stepped forward. Permission to address the platoon. Sir, Brooks nodded. Riley faced her fellow recruits. I know this seems sudden, and I'm sorry I can't explain the full situation, but I want you all to know that these 6 weeks have meant more to me than you understand. You pushed me, challenged me, made me better, and you did it without knowing my background, which makes it genuine. She paused. You're going to be excellent Marines. Take care of each other, support each other. Remember that the uniform connects you to something bigger than individual achievement. And never forget that real strength doesn't require recognition, it just requires showing up and doing the work. Hanson started crying again. Kim joined her. Even some of the male recruits looked emotional. Thank you, Riley said simply. For everything. She saluted the platoon. They returned it raggedly. Emotions making precision difficult. Then Riley turned and walked off the parade deck. Didn't look back. Couldn't afford to. Jackson watched her go, understanding more than most. She wasn't just leaving boot camp, she was going back to war. Fort Bragg, North Carolina, 48 hours later. The briefing room was sterile white walls, conference table, secure communication equipment. 4 women sat around the table looking older than their years. War did that. Riley entered. They stood as one. Captain Sonia Chen, 5'6", Chinese-American close-cropped hair scar across her left cheek from a knife fight in Mogadishu. Boss, good to see you. Lieutenant Maya Patel, 5'2", Indian-American glasses, looked like a librarian until you saw the way she moved. We thought you'd say no. Staff Sergeant Jennifer Torres, 5'8", Latina tattoos covering both arms, grin that promised trouble. Glad you came back. We've got work to do. Sergeant First Class Alex Kimura, 5'5", Japanese-American calm eyes that had seen too much death. Welcome home, Riley. Riley looked at them, her team, her sisters, the survivors. I'm not the same person I was in Syria, she said. The therapy, the time away, boot camp, I've changed. So have we, Chen said. But the fundamentals are still there. We trust you. We follow you. That hasn't changed. Patel activated the briefing display. The broker, real name Dmitry Volkov, former Russian Spetsnaz, went private after the Soviet collapse, now runs the biggest arms network in Eastern Europe, also provides tactical training to terrorist organizations. He's personally responsible for coordinating attacks that have killed over 300 coalition personnel in the last 5 years. The screen showed a face, hard, scarred, eyes like a predator. He's currently operating from a compound outside Sarajevo, Patel continued. Former Serbian military base, heavily fortified, approximately 30 personnel on site, mix of guards, trainees, administrative staff. Torres pulled up a satellite image. We've been watching for 6 months. Guard rotation every 4 hours. Perimeter security includes cameras, motion sensors, and patrol dogs. Interior has multiple hardened positions. This isn't a soft target. What's the time constraint? Riley asked. Intel suggests he's moving a large weapons shipment to a terrorist cell in France within the next 2 weeks. Once that shipment moves, we lose him. He'll disappear into the network again, resurface somewhere else months later. Kimura added, rules of engagement, kill or capture, preference for kill. No host nation coordination. Bosnia doesn't know we're coming. If things go bad, we're on our own. No backup, no rescue, classic Ghost unit parameters. Riley studied the compound layout, counted firing positions, calculated approach vectors, identified weaknesses. Her mind slipped into old patterns, tactical planning, risk assessment, mission design. It felt like coming home after years away. We insert via halo drop, she said, speaking with growing confidence. I'll land 5 kilometers out, move to observation position, conduct 24-hour surveillance to verify patterns. Assault window is 0200 local time, guard rotation change, lowest alert status. Split team, Chen and Torres take perimeter security, suppress guards, and eliminate external threats. Patel handles electronic warfare, jam communications and security systems. Kimura and I penetrate the compound, locate, Volkov execute. The team nodded. This was the Riley they remembered. Clear, decisive, tactical genius. Equipment, Chen asked. Suppressed weapons, night vision, minimal loadout for fast movement. We're in and out in 20 minutes maximum. Extraction. Ground transportation to Montenegro, civilian crossing at the border. We disappear into the population before host nation even knows we were there. Torres grinned. Just like old times. Not quite, Riley said quietly. Old times we had 12, now we have 5. That changes risk calculations. Everyone needs to be perfect. No mistakes, no heroics. We execute the mission and we all come home. Understood. Understood, they chorused. Reeves entered the briefing room. Mission is approved. You wheels up in 12 hours. Insertion in 36. Questions. Riley looked at her team, saw determination, readiness, also fear because they weren't stupid. This mission could kill them, but they'd volunteered anyway, because the broker had killed their sisters, because justice demanded action, because some missions mattered more than personal safety. No questions, ma'am, Riley said. Ghost unit is operational. 36 hours later, Bosnia, 5 kilometers outside Sarajevo. 5 parachutes blossomed in darkness, invisible against the night sky. 5 women hit the ground, collapsed their chutes, buried them in a pre-selected location. No words, hand signals only. They'd practiced this 1,000 times. Riley took point, led them through forest terrain toward the observation position. 2 hours of silent movement, every step calculated, every sound minimized. They reached the ridge overlooking the compound at 0300. Set up observation post. Began cataloging patterns. Guard rotation at 0400, exactly as intelligence predicted. 12 personnel visible. Volkov's quarters identified by thermal signature, 2nd floor, east wing alone. 24 hours of observation, confirmation of all intel. The plan was solid. 0130 the next night. Final equipment check. Weapons loaded, night vision tested, communications verified. Riley looked at her team. This is it. We go in fast, hit hard, get out clean. Remember your training, trust your sisters, and if something goes wrong, we adapt and overcome. Just like always. Chen chambered around. For Gabriella. Torres followed. For Sandra. Patel. For Tamara. Kimura. For Kira. Riley's voice went hard. For all of them, let's move. They descended from the ridge like vengeful spirits, crossed the perimeter in silence. Chen and Torres split off, moving to perimeter positions. Riley, Patel, and Kimura reached the compound wall. Patel activated the jammer. Security cameras went dark. Motion sensors died. They went over the wall. 30 seconds. No alarms. Riley led them through the compound, past sleeping guards, past administrative buildings, to the east wing, 2nd floor, Volkov's quarters. The door was locked. Riley pulled out lockpicks. 20 seconds, click. They entered, swept the room. 1 bed, 1 occupant. Volkov sat up, reaching for a weapon on the nightstand. Riley's suppressed pistol coughed twice, center mass, then once more. Headshot. The broker collapsed back onto the bed, dead before he could scream. 3 years of nightmares, 3 years of guilt, 3 years of survivor's grief, ended in 3 seconds. Riley stood over the body, breathing steady, no emotion visible. "Confirmed kill," she whispered into her radio. "Exfil in 90 seconds. They moved, back through the compound, over the wall, into the forest. Behind them, alarms started blaring, guards shouting, chaos erupting. But Ghost Unit was already gone, disappeared into the night like they'd never been there. Mission complete. Justice served. 4 stars on Riley's wrist. Could rest a little easier now. 3 weeks later, Paris Island. The graduation ceremony proceeded with full military pageantry. Families filled the stands. Recruits in dress uniforms stood at attention. The Marine Corps band played. Riley Carter's name was called with the others. Graduated with honors, currently on assignment. Hansen accepted Riley's Eagle Globe and anchor on her behalf, held it carefully like something precious. After the ceremony, a package arrived at Hansen's barracks, inside a handwritten note and a photo. The note read, "Thank you for pushing me to be better. You're going to be an outstanding Marine. Stay strong, stay authentic, and remember that warriors lift each other up. Your friend Riley." The photo showed 5 women in civilian clothes sitting at a cafe in some European city, smiling like they didn't have a care in the world. On the back, written in neat handwriting, "Ghost Unit Post Mission. We all made it home." Hansen smiled, showed the photo to Jackson, Foster, Kim, and the others. "She did it," Jackson said quietly. "Whatever she went to do, she survived." "Of course she did," Hansen replied. "She's Riley freaking Morgan, survivor, warrior, Marine." Estof d'Or. 6 months later, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. Sergeant Riley Morgan stood in front of a classroom filled with 20 female recruits, new Marine combat instructor course, teaching the next generation. "Today we're covering tactical movement in urban terrain," she began. "But before we get into the technical details, I want to tell you about 4 women I knew, 4 warriors who taught me what it means to lead." She taught the lessons her fallen sisters had given her, passed on their wisdom, ensured their sacrifice meant something beyond grief. And on her wrist, the pink butterfly with 7 silver stars caught the afternoon light. Memorial, reminder, promise. Until Valhalla, indeed. The office was quiet except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Riley's phone buzzed. Blocked number. She answered. "Morgan," Commander Reeves's voice. "We've got a situation. Eastern Europe again. Larger network. JSOC is asking if Ghost Unit could be mobilized for advisory role." Riley looked at the photo on her desk. 5 women, all alive, all healing. "Respectfully, ma'am, Ghost Unit is retired. We did our last mission, got our justice. Now we're moving forward with our lives." "Understood. Had to ask. But if you need tactical consultation training support or strategic planning, we're available for that. Just not field operations." "That works. I'll be in touch." Riley hung up, looked out the window at young Marines running PT. She'd been a ghost, then a recruit, then a ghost again. Now she was something new, something sustainable, a teacher, a leader, a Marine who walked in daylight instead of shadows. And that finally felt like enough.